Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're working on a 1965 Wagoneer. Now the steering wheel has a little bit of cracks in it. What I mean by just a little bit, probably about 40 or 50 of them. So what we're going to do, we're going to fix every one of those cracks. Now if you're new to my channel, I do restorations and I also work on almost every type of vehicle, even down to an RV. So when you want to go on and find some quick fixes or something that you're looking for, my channel might be for you. So remember to like and subscribe. Alright, so the first step is we're going to be taping off the area that we want to make sure that no epoxy is going to get onto it. Now, you can remove the steering wheel if it makes it easier. However, I wanted to keep the original shape of the area where the horn goes in. Plus, it makes it easier as I'm one person and I don't want to put it in a vise and it's already fragile enough. This will hold it steady as I'm repairing the areas that broke off. As you can see here, I'm removing the 3 screws which holds on the chrome trim around the horn. Now I'm taking my time to make sure I don't lose these. Now the hard part was I was trying to bend around the camera without being in the way with the screwdriver. So I apologize for any of the shaky filming right there. Alright, we got that bezel off, or chrome trim, whatever way you want to phrase it. And now we're going to put it aside and make sure you don't lose those screws. As you can see, some of the plastic is still intact a little bit, which is cracking off, and we're going to be making sure to put those back on. The best part with us not removing it is we're not going to disturb those cracks any further, and we're going to be able to retain the actual shape that we still need of the steering wheel, even though it cracked already. What I was doing is I'm removing any of the flaking material with a screwdriver. We're going to get in there and try to pry all that out. We don't want any of that in the way to make sure that we actually get a proper repair. Alright, as you can see, this is one of the pieces that I'm going to make sure that I get back in the way that it needs to go. That way it actually holds the shape. So we're going to use tape along that edge to also keep those in place. And use super glue to get the original pieces back together. Now the super glue is just to hold it temporarily before we actually get our epoxy in there. This is to make sure that they stay in place and they don't shift around when we get the epoxy on it. Just remember that this is not going to hold it together structurally. This is just for you to keep these pieces together without them shifting when you try to get the epoxy on, like I was saying. Now take your time with this. You're going to be applying it in those areas. Make sure you can get your pieces back on. If you have some smaller ones, don't worry. Take your time and know that it's not going to be something that's done in less than 2 minutes. Alright, so I'm not going to be deleting any of the footage out so you can see how long it took me to do the steering wheel. If you're interested in seeing the next step, you can fast forward and you can see me applying the steel reinforced epoxy in those cracks. Alright, so choose your mixing board of choice so we can spread out our epoxy, and you can use any type of epoxy you want at this point. And we're going to be applying it to that horn area first and making sure we can seal up those major cracks first or broken pieces. Make sure you stir up the epoxy until it's actually one consistent color. Now, how you get on the actual epoxy to your steering wheel does not matter. You can use any sort of device to put on that epoxy. You can use a paintbrush, you can use a filler spreader. Just remember it's going to apply thin, and you're going to have to do another coat after you sand it, and make sure that you can apply it into those cracks and press it in. Now, when you're doing the epoxy, no, it will sink in. It will actually need probably a second coat, and then if you want any of the extra areas filled up, you can use your fiberglass filler in those areas because you're going to be structurally repaired at that point, and you're going to be just doing aesthetics. But if you're only aiming for just a fixed level, farm truck level, and you don't really care if it's completely 100% blemish free, and you just want it fixed and not cracking anymore, then you could sand down the epoxy, check it over, put a primer on there, and spray on your color of choice. Alright, like I said, the epoxy is going to sink into the material. So what you're going to do is put on your second coat and sand it down after that. You can see if you're at the finish that you want. Now, when you're putting on the epoxy, remember it's very thin and it's not going to look perfect when you get it on there. You're just trying to fill those cracks and build up the surface. If it goes on uneven, it's not going to affect what it looks like at the end because you're going to be sanding away almost 80% of it. The only thing that matters is accurate penetration and making sure you got it all filled up like I did there. Once I was done, this is me putting on my second coat. I have it pushed inside the garage and I was leaning in, and that's why I had it through the window at this point. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter how you're getting it on there. You can use any applicator you want. You can use a filler spreader, another piece of cardboard, a paintbrush. It won't matter because you're going to be sanding off anything on there that's uneven. And you can always choose to remove the steering wheel at the end if you want to do a better finish. Now remember, this is geared towards someone who wants to save money and also restore their car, and it doesn't have to be in perfect shape. Now if you want to get it perfect, like I said, add fiberglass over those areas that you did the epoxy on, and you're going to level it off with a high build primer, walk it out about twice, check it over, then put on your color. For me, I was trying to just fix the cracks and get it to a farm truck level, sand it down where the epoxy is, and then coat it with a primer and get some color on it. Now, as you can see, I use the steering wheel and I spin it around so I can get to those areas that I need to without worrying that I need to flex myself in there. Make the steering wheel work for you. And that's another reason why it was good to leave it on the column. You could just turn it around and not worry about it touching or leaving fingerprints in the areas that you just put on epoxy, especially if you're going to be doing the whole steering wheel. And it gives you about a 30-minute cure time on this epoxy. Alright, so we made it to the end of part one, which is the next part. We're going to be showing you how to sand down this steering wheel, which I'm just showing you a quick clip of what it's going to look like. So stay tuned, check out some of the merch I have for sale, and remember to like and subscribe for more videos just like this.